Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video of ZK Studies, where we are going to be focusing on the processes of inhalation and exhalation. So without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, on the left-hand side of the diagram, there is a depiction of inhalation, which shows a person breathing in air. In order to memorize the concepts of both inhalation and exhalation, I like to use these 7 letters. And what it does is it just helps me memorize the different steps involved. So if we were to take inhalation, for example, what happens is that the external intercostal muscles contract. And remember, intercostal muscles are the muscles in between the ribs. At the same time, we have the internal intercostal muscles relaxing. And this is because both the external and internal intercostal muscles form an antagonistic muscle pair. So if one contracts, the other relaxes. Next, as part of inhalation, your ribs will move up and out. Then the diaphragm contracts and flattens. And now, what happens is that the volume of the thorax increases to accommodate for the air which will enter it. So that's your V. So, volume of thorax increases. Now, the pressure of the thorax will be much lower than atmospheric pressure. And what this does is it causes air to move inside the thorax because it's moving from a high to a lower area of pressure, moving down the pressure gradient. So in a similar way that we have temperature gradients or concentration gradients, there's also a pressure gradient which will dictate the movement of air. So air moves into the thorax, moving down the pressure gradient. So those are your steps for inhalation. Now we use the exact same main letters, so the E, I, R, D, V, P, A, but this time it's going to be for exhalation. So essentially what you're doing is flipping the roles. In exhalation, the external intercostal muscles relax. Which therefore means that the internal intercostal muscles would contract. The ribs move downwards and inwards. the diaphragm expands and moves upwards. I think a better word to use would be relaxes. The volume of the thorax decreases. The pressure in the thorax is higher than atmospheric pressure. So this time the pressure gradient does not cause air to move into the thorax, but causes air to move from the thorax outside. So air moves out of the thorax. And once again, it moves down the pressure gradient. So in terms of inhalation and exhalation, all you have to do is remember the sequence of events for either one of these processes and then flip the roles so that you can understand what happens in the second one. So I, for example, prefer to memorize the steps involved in inhalation, and when I'm doing exhalation, I just think of the opposite steps that would happen. So there you have it, the 7 main steps.